thank you for everyone for taking time to listen to us. To give you a breakdown of how this is going to run today. Gives a brief introductions to the panelists that are on the webinar with us today. We'll get into some mortgage talk, and then we'll get into showing everyone how I personally grew my portfolio. Then we'll open up to question and answers, and then we'll finish up with some upcoming projects that are launching here in Toronto, Oakville, and Calgary as well, because we end up getting into that topic typically at the end of those webinars. So we actually have some new things that are coming up. So the topic that we're talking about today, refinancing and growing your portfolio wise, is relevant to what's coming on and what's happening in the market and everything like that. So first of all, my name's Alex Wilson, team lead of alexjwilson.com. I've been selling real estate for 11 years now. In 2019, I was the top agent for transactions in all of Ontario wise. And on top of that, I have a significant real estate portfolio. And I grew my portfolio out of an initial deposit of $39,000 that I bought a condo at the Carnaby, which is located at 20 Minuin Lane at Dufferin and Queen. Kyle, who I'll introduce next, also has a condo in that building wise and has used the same strategies to grow his portfolio wise. So I turned that one condo into a portfolio now where we have 14 pre-construction properties that we've purchased, a triplex in the High Park neighborhood and an apartment building in Hamilton. The total value of that entire portfolio is $14 million. And it all started by buying that first property and then refinancing and growing the portfolio. Now I'm a little more aggressive than most because I literally do real estate every day. So it's not my expectation that people are going to jump and buy 14 properties, and we don't want to give Amit a heart attack either. But we're going to give you the tools and show you how that can be done. So that's basically what we're going to be talking about today. How you if you have a current property or if you haven't bought a property yet, how you can grow and work up the ladder to acquire more properties wise. So to my left, we have Kyle DeVigi, co-founder of remaxwealthbuilers real estate wise. He himself is an investment expert, has a portfolio that he's growing wise, and bought the same first pre-construction property that I bought, which he bought in Minuin as well in the Carnaby wise. And then everything that we've done, my portfolio, Kyle's portfolio, cannot be done without a trusted mortgage professional. And that's why it's so important to have that trusted mortgage professional. And I want to add a mortgage professional that knows how to build investment portfolios. Very, very key. If you go off the street into your local bank branch and ask them for a mortgage wise, they will give you a completely different answer than Amit would provide you. So Amit specializes in condos and investment portfolios wise. He not only works with us, but works with all the top condo agents across Toronto wise. He's seen everything. So he knows how to structure these portfolios to allow people to grow. So we have Amit on here as well. So Amit, why don't you provide some information to all the people has come on to hear us talk today.
Alex, thanks so much for that introduction. Always a pleasure working with yourself and Kyle. You guys have been nothing but supportive and provided a long-time relationship that is more friends than business at the end of the day. So thank you so much for that. Pleasure meeting everybody. My contact details we can get from Alex after the call if anyone has any questions.
So to let everyone know, this is recorded wise, and full contact details will be sent out for Amit wise and a full recording of this. Though I encourage you to still stay on because dynamic listening and questioning wise is the best way to learn.
Absolutely. So I'll just give the quick 60-second background on myself. So I started my career about 20 years ago as a chartered accountant. Was working at KPMG and Deloitte, some of the big accounting firms downtown. I learned very quickly that instead of counting other people's money, we should start doing it for ourselves. Became a mortgage broker back in 2008. And at that point, met Alex very quickly in my career. I think we were both getting started. Now, thanks to Alex and all of his clients, and especially all of Alex's peers in the industry, I've been blessed. I was the #3 agent in Ontario for 2017, and 2 years in a row, I've been the #1 agent by transactions in all of Ontario for all mortgage brokers for 2018 and 19. Being an accountant with a mortgage brokerage is the edge. I'm happy to provide a setup for anybody. It doesn't matter you have your first property or you're buying your 14th property. So that is my background in a nutshell, and I'm here to provide any context today that we need.
Great, yeah, and let's jump into it. You know, we are in this COVID time wise. What's the mortgage industry like right now? Just giving everyone a synopsis wise.
So the mortgage industry leading up to COVID was booming. People were working, the economy was doing great. And then all of a sudden on March 14th, 16th, 18th, somewhere in that time, everything stopped. Mortgage deferrals kicked in, the CERB kicked in. Everyone's aware of what's going on in that sense. From a mortgage perspective, the biggest change without getting into 100 topics, but the biggest change that the banks have asked for is future viability of income. On top of who you are, what you do, what your credit was, where you work, the banks need to understand now how you're going to make money going forward. Are you at home collecting CERB? Are you a nurse? Are you a doctor that hasn't done surgeries? Or do you work at a school? Do you plan to go back to daycare? Like, every industry is impacted in some way. And so the main obstacle today on getting people approved is simply understanding how that person's future is going to look.
Yeah, and actually that flows it great into how I've grown my portfolio wise. So, and we did our webinars in April, which when they suspended evictions for landlords wise, we educated everyone, okay, if your tenant's not paying you, what can you do? Those are on our website wise, if anyone wants to watch those. I'm not going to get into that topic right now. We talked about how to structure a portfolio from a tax perspective wise, because they pushed back the tax deadline. And now we're talking about the financing wise. So to let everyone know what's happening on the ground in the Toronto condo market, it's horrible. And what, on the rental side, I should say on the rental side, I didn't clarify that. On the rental side, the condo market is terrible. Now, I want everyone to stay with me here as I go through the doom and gloom and the positive wise. Kyle, why don't you talk about just the current atmosphere in the Toronto rental market?
Yeah, definitely. So it's a very soft market right now, and it's really a renter's market. And this is really being caused by the Airbnb factor. Majority of the units for Airbnb, came March, COVID, they weren't able or allowed to rent those out to people anymore. Short-term rentals were essentially banned and stopped downtown. So landlords were faced with a situation, or not landlords, but the Airbnb hosts were faced with a situation where they have zero income. So to hedge some of those losses, many of those converted over into the long-term market, listing their units for rent. So what we've seen is many buildings, there are certain short-term hotels downtown where there are literally 120 units for rent in a single building. So the good news is, since about March and April, the number of leases that have been completed downtown and continue to be completed every week are really matching the 2019 levels. So there are definitely people renting. It's happening a lot. Deals are happening. But what is happening is that there's significantly more inventory available on the market. At this time last year, there were about 1,900 units available for rent. Today, there's about 5,000 available in downtown Toronto. So we've seen significant supply come to the market, which is causing essentially pricing to come down.
Yeah, and I also want to add to people as well, borders are closed. So your busiest months for rentals wise end up being July, August, September. So because the borders are closed, there's no immigrants coming to Toronto right now. So that's 100,000 people that you're going to wipe off for 2019, for 2020. And there's no international students, wipe out another 100,000 individuals. So that's 200,000 people that aren't coming to the GTA this year. And as Kyle said, from a supply issue standpoint, is increasing as well. So we see vacancies increasing and rental rates dropping for the first time in years. If you're priced correctly, your unit will rent out. If you're not going to get any showings on your unit. On top of that, and I can tell you this, offices are not opening until 2021. So the people that typically work downtown, they may not be coming back. The offices, I shouldn't say the offices aren't opening in 2021. They will be opening, but no one's going to go. I'm talking to senior level individuals for major corporations wise, because they're my clients, and they're like, yeah, we may open our doors, but there's going to be zero expectation that anyone's actually going to come. So again, all this is going to have impacts on the Toronto condo rental market downtown. And as Amit said, the banks are concerned on what are you making tomorrow for when you're looking at potential investment properties. Now that's all the doom and gloom wise. Okay. The reason I tell everyone this is that if you're looking on the resale market wise, where prices have relatively stayed stable, new listings are down 50%, but transactions are at 50% of what last year was. Prices are leveled out around 2019 levels. So we have stability in the resale market wise, but the rental market is terrible. And banks are concerned what your future income is. This where it flows in very well with the pre-construction market wise, because what you don't need a mortgage today on the pre-construction market wise. You're just putting deposits on these properties. And where we move from the doom and gloom to where everything is going to be in a year's time, all the things that were going on in Toronto, in the greater Toronto area wise, that led to increased pricing on these properties, that all still exists. That hasn't gone anywhere. And I will argue that we are even in a better position post-COVID than we were pre-COVID wise in attracting international immigration into the greater Toronto area wise. From a worldwide perspective, we handled the pandemic fairly well. And there are people that are watching Canada that are in their current countries wise going, you know what? And wealthy individuals wise that are going, you know what? I got to get out of here. Or I have to get my family out of here. Where am I going to go? Well, the US is closed down. And even pre-COVID, the US was closing down and wasn't the most attractive location. If you look at the UK, Brexit, similar examples wise, where do individuals want to relocate their family? Well, Canada is safe and boring, and Toronto is the most multicultural city in the world where everyone is welcome. Where do you think people are going to be going post-COVID wise when restrictions are lifted? Where do I want to live? We see Toronto becoming more like a Zurich in Europe for North America wise. That's where we see it going. This is going to be an international destination point. You know, Canada, we're not going to be a terribly important country, and Canada's not going to be a terribly important country, and Toronto is not going to be a terribly important city, but it's going to be a safe and boring city. And safe and boring is the ultimate currency in the world today. And I'll flow Kyle back in wise because he's more aware of this, because this is, we did a video on this last week and we're about to publish it and will be published next week. And then a great topic on this was added on. Kyle, why don't you talk about our high-tech industry and the suspension of visas in the US to skilled workers?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a huge tech sector in Canada and especially in Toronto, where we had more tech jobs added than any other city in North America last year, which is pretty amazing when you think about that. And what are the top companies in the world, you know, by market cap? They're the big tech companies, Microsoft, Amazon, you have those big guys. So Toronto is really leading that force. And the fact that in the States, I think it was actually this week, they suspended their H-1B visas, which essentially allow highly skilled workers to come into the US in order to perform certain, you know, specific jobs. And that now means that they've stopped that visa program in addition to a few other ones. But a lot of those people are now looking to Canada. And Canada is actually actively recruiting those people. They have billboards up in California saying, if you're having problems with your visa, hey, there's Canada. We are very welcoming to the tech workers.
Oh, do they really? Do you have a picture of that? If not, I'm gonna get Steve Deo to go get one for us.
Yeah, I there's pictures online that I can pull up. But yeah, honestly, that's how aggressive Canada is being. And here's the reason why. You know, immigrants are really contributing to the economy from a tech and innovation perspective. Here's a couple stats that blew my mind. The Mars Research Building downtown, the largest urban innovation hub, they had over half of the company founders were born abroad. And in the US, nearly 40% of Nobel Prizes in chemistry, medicine, physics since 2000 were immigrants. And immigrants founded nearly 55% of the startup companies in America. It's mind-blowing, the immigration and the high-tech jobs and skills that they're bringing. And this is really going to be critical to Canada for us to grow our economy and to recover after COVID-19. We need this immigration. We need these workers.
Guys, we are an immigration-based country-wise, and we will open our doors. So we're doing the opposite of our neighbors to the southwest. Now you may be wondering, Alex, Kyle, Emma, what are you guys talking about this? How do I grow my portfolio? How do I make money with my properties? These things aren't structured wise. It kind of goes how it flows. But B, it's very important to know why you're doing a refinance and where you're going to put the money afterwards. So that's why I like going into this and allowing everyone to understand what's going on and where things are moving towards, and why things aren't great right now currently on the ground, but this will be a small term blip wise. So it's part of the investment strategy. I wanted to give you the reason why you're going to refinance your property and where you're going to look at investing your real estate wise. Amit, I'm thinking of going into my presentation to show people how I grew my money, which again relies on an individual like you. I think that's a good point. We'll go there. And then I'm sure people are going to have lots of questions, or if they don't, then we'll ask questions wise to spur people in regards to how they do that with their current properties. That make sense?
Absolutely. We can jump into it now or into the presentation.
Let's do the presentation first, because it'll show people how it's done. And then we'll go in to show people, okay, this is how you refinance the property with Amit wise. Okay,
sounds good.
I'm going to show people this. This is why you want to refinance. Why maximize your portfolio wise? And Amit, you're allowed to correct me if I say anything wrong. You have full power.
No problem.
I know things are fluid and things change. But why maximize your portfolio is equity in your property is dead money. You want to use your equity, other people's money, to expand your portfolio and ensure you're paying the right and lowest interest rate. So that's where Amit really comes to help out wise. What we're proposing is you play real life Monopoly. And for those that don't know what Monopoly is, it's a board game where you purchase properties and charge rent to your other participants if they land on your square. And then through that rent, you purchase other properties and you make your way along the board. So the lowest cost property is Baltic Avenue, and the most expensive property is Boardwalk wise. You don't start with buying Boardwalk. It's at the end of the board, and it's the most expensive properties. You start on Baltic Avenue, and then you work your way around the board. And as people land on your property, you get money for that. And then you leverage that money and you buy more properties. And then the goal of the game, whoever has the most money at the end wins. It can lead to fights with friends and fights with family, but that's what money does. So what we're proposing is real life Monopoly here. And what it is the cash flow method. I call it the Goldilocks method. If you have too much positive cash flow, it just gets taxed away. You could have increased the equity and could increase equity in the property, purchase more investment units. So if you own one property all cash, that's great wise, but you're going to be getting significant cash flow each month, and that's just going to get taxed away from the government wise. You're better off taking more money out of the property and having two properties that are going up in value. If you have too much negative cash flow, it exposes you to extra risks. If you're not able to maintain our monthly obligations, we put ourselves in a situation where we have to sell. So you only lose money in real estate when you sell. So never sell. And what I mean by that is never put yourself in a situation where you have to sell. You can ride out any downturn. Your property will always go up in value wise at some point. So what we always preach at the Goldilocks method, the neutral cash flow minimizes our taxable income and efficiently uses the equity by maximizing the number of investment properties we own that are appreciating in value and having equity paid down. So that if you have a tenant in your property, they're servicing all your costs every month. That's the key to growing your portfolio wise. So again, great if you only have one, but if you've had that one condo, for example, and you've had it for 10 years, it's gone up significantly in value wise. So if you take equity out of that property and turn that into another property, now you have two properties going up in value. And my final slide in this presentation is going to blow your mind in regards to what you can do with a larger portfolio. But I'm going to show you a case study.
I think the other thing to add for people that wonder what to do with the refinanced money, also remember every dollar that you take out from existing properties is tax-free. And the reason it's tax-free is because tax is only due upon disposition, which means sale of a property. So the way people build their portfolio and get richer is they keep taking the equity out of all their properties because all that money is free.
Yeah, exactly. Guys, that's the key. So if you have your 10-year-old property and you sell that 10-year-old property, then you have to pay capital gains tax on that. And then that property is not going up in value anymore. Last year, met an investor at a sales center wise, and I loved his line. Older Portuguese gentleman. And he's like, Alex, if you sell the chicken, you don't get any more eggs. I'm like, that is so simple, but a great analogy wise. If you sell your property, you're not going to get, it's not going up in value anymore. So you're not getting the upside and the appreciation. And there is no equity pay down wise on the property. Now to clarify what equity pay down is, for those that don't know, every month you pay your mortgage wise, part of that goes to interest, part of that goes to pay down the principal portion of the mortgage wise. So every month you're getting part of the mortgage pay down. And that's a very key factor in this whole equation wise. So I put together an example wise, and I actually put this example together in 2017. So these properties have gone up in value wise, which you'll see on my final slide. But it just shows you what I've done and how I've been able to do it. So in 2012, when I purchased my first investment condo, I bought it for $262,400. And that again was at Gladstone and Queen here in Toronto wise. I'm sure everyone put up with their hand, Alex, I want a condo in Toronto for $262,000. That does not exist. It's hard enough getting you a condo under $500,000 in Toronto. So the current market value on that property in 2017 was $500,000. So what I did is my current mortgage on the property was $202,000, but the value was $500,000. So the bank would give me more money. They're going to increase my mortgage. So the market rent on that unit was $2,100 per month. I had significant cash flow coming in on that property wise. So what I did is I refinanced the property. The current market value of $500,000. The bank would give me a loan to value of 80%. So that means I have $400,000 of refinancing available. I have to pay off the current mortgage, which is $202,000. So if I take $400,000 subtracted by 202, that means I have $197,000 of tax-free money from the bank to invest back in condos. And literally, I got a check from the bank for $197,000. Amit, the mortgage broker. Everything I said here, is that correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And tax-free. And then you take that money and buy another property, and then you do it again and again and again.
Key, don't go buy a car. Don't go on vacation. Well, you can't go on vacation anyways. Don't go spend. So I get people that have difficulty with the concept sometimes. They're like, Alex, I'm taking on more debt. No, you're leveraging the equity in the property. This only becomes debt if you take it and you put it into a non-money making asset. So if you took this and you bought the car or went on vacation, yeah, that's debt. You're not making money on that. You're not making a return on that. But if you take this money and you put it in another property, that is leverage, and you're leveraging the portfolio wise. And now, as Amit said, it is more difficult on the qualifications wise at this time. But on the plus side, money is incredibly cheap in regards to the interest rates wise. Like when I look at my home equity line of credit and the fact that I'm paying 2.95% on my home equity line of credit, that's lower than some of the mortgages on the properties that I currently own. That is absolutely insane. And that's not going to change for at least a year. So it is a great opportunity to take advantage of that right now. Now I'm going to show you how I turned one condo into 3 condos. So I have my current condo that I own. That's my one condo. Then I took the $197,000 and I put deposits on 2 other condos. One at 75 the Esplanade and one at Canary Block. One I bought one had a deposit structure of $57,000. The other one had a deposit structure of $115,000. And both those properties went up in value. So that I made another $320,000 on the increased value on those properties wise. So now I have 3 properties. And guess what? Those are going up in value wise. And remember, I did this in 2017, this example wise. I didn't change the numbers or anything wise. Assume conservative 5% annual compounded growth. The average rate of appreciation for downtown Toronto condos is 9.4% over the last 5 years. So 2017 to 2022, the Carnaby condo, the value in 2022 would be $638,000 plus equity pay down of $44,051. So that again is the tenant that's paying down my mortgage every month. that means I make an additional gain of $282,000. That's why you don't want to sell. Plus my 75, the Esplanade condo I bought, that's going to continue going up in value wise. So in the numbers were for 2023. In 2023, the value would be $616,000. That's a gain of $133,000. And my Canary Block condo will be $957,000. That's another gain of $207,000. So my total gain from 2018 to 2023 is $622,000 by owning the 3 condos, plus the $320,000 I made by buying those properties pre-construction wise. So when I look at the results of leveraging wise, leverage the equity of 1 condo of $197,000, turn that leverage into 2 condos where I made $320,000 on the increase in value. Then over the next 5 years, those 3 condos go up another $622,000. The total gain from leveraging my 1 condo, $943,000. Versus if I did not leverage that property, at the end of 5 years, I do have the increase in value of $622,000. I do get the equity pay down of $22,000, and I get some cash flow of $40,000. So my total gain without leverage was only $185,000. Which portfolio would you prefer? Would I want to make $185,000 over 5 years, or $943,000 over the 5-year period wise? And you may be going, Alex, that's crazy. That's not possible. But we've seen that in the market wise. If I go to what this is my total real estate portfolio wise. That Carnaby condo is worth $600,000 now. And when I did those numbers, I had the value pegged at $500,000. If I go to the 75, the Esplanade condo, that's worth $600,000. You know, that's trending right up to where we want to be for the example where it's going to be $614,000 in 2023. My Canary Block condo is worth $800,000. You know, again, trending up to where it needs to be for that 2023 number. This actually happened, and this actually worked wise. And what I did is I bought more properties. So in total, I have 16 properties, 14 that I bought pre-construction wise, and I have an apartment building in Hamilton, and I have my principal residence, which is the triplex in High Park, where we rent out two floors wise. Now this is where it gets crazy. So we said, okay, what happens over 5 years? So I asked myself, what happens over 30 years? Now here's the key thing. Now everyone, we're gonna get to your questions. I see people raising their hands. Why I did 30 years? That's how long amortization periods are for mortgages wise. I just wanted to do easy math. I didn't want to factor in equity pay down. I didn't want to factor in cash flow. I just want to assume everything's neutral wise and just dumb it down for everyone. Let's just do easy math on this. So if I just didn't sell anything, kept it, what's my value in 30 years? And my growth rate, I did 3%, annual compounded growth at 3%. So by the end of 30 years, I'll have no mortgages and all the real estate growing at 3%, which will allow for any ups and downs in the market wise. My total value of my portfolio paid off because I had other people paying the servicing the costs, the mortgages, the property tax, the maintenance fees, did nothing out of my pocket. $33 million, over $33 million what would be what the portfolio would be worth. Now, my background's in finance and economics. So there's inflation. So I want to know in today's dollars, what would that actually be? That's going to be the equivalent of $19 million. So you'll have a net worth in 30 years equivalent to $19 million today. The purchasing power would be $19 million today. And this all started by buying one pre-construction condo, letting it go up in value, and then refinancing equity out and buying more properties and more properties and more properties. That is the strategy that you use to really grow your portfolio and allow you to refinance equity out of your current property, get a mortgage in the future, and get the future rental value as well. Now, Amit, do you want to add anything onto that?
I think that overall this number actually is potentially low because the assumptions we use are based on historic averages.
Yeah,
And
exactly. Yes.
in what I've seen in 12 plus years now is all our models always, use 3, 4, 5% growth, and the average growth, accounting for the '08 crash, the 2017 correction, and even the COVID correction, the average is still over 7, 8%. So I look at my portfolio that I started building with Alex and his peers, and it's the same thing. You expected a condo that was 300K at Maple Leaf Square in 2007, and now you look at it and wonder, how has this thing gone up by 2, 3, 400%? So I think these numbers are actually short of what actually happens, and it goes back to the original discussion on Toronto being a boring and safe city. That's exactly what people look for. And the demand on our city is unfathomed. It's proven by the fact that large companies like Amazon, Google is building their own block downtown. All the tech sector that we have, the stability of the banks. I mean, overall, there's only a few cities in the world, in my opinion, that are financially safe like Toronto, and that's London, Singapore, Hong Kong, and New York, because we're so insulated by so many financial metrics. We have mining, tech, banking, housing, builders, all kinds of stuff. We're not like Alberta, where if there's a change in oil prices, everybody's in trouble. We're completely different. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Okay, that perfect. And yeah, I keep it conservative. So because the numbers get so crazy that I don't want people to call BS. So I can just say a nice 3%. But yeah, 5%, you can definitely use 5%. You can use higher than that. So we're going to jump into the questions now. So if anyone has any questions, put it in the question and answer box. Because it looks like the chat has been very active.
Yep, so we've got a bunch of questions, Alex. One of the main ones was, Amit, how do banks do their valuations on a property when you're looking to refinance it?
So the main method that's used is it's one of 2 approaches. Either they have an automatic value, they would call that an AVM in the industry, or they send out an appraiser.
Yeah.
The latter is where having control of the process provides us stability. Some lenders allow the mortgage broker or realtor to choose the appraiser, which we've done historically. Some lenders don't allow us to choose the appraiser. So if we're looking to max the value of a condo, I'm not saying that a condo that's worth 400 is going to be appraised for 600. I'm saying it can be appraised for 410, 420, 425, something more on the higher side of the conservative number. So every bank has a different approach when it comes to appraisals, but the short answer is either it's an automatic value in the system or we order one.
Yeah, and to let everyone know, the bank is going to be a little more conservative on the number wise. You may not get a pure market value number wise, but that's okay too, because you are looking at still significant equity in your properties wise. And the key is you want to run that cash flow neutral model as well. So you may not want to take out all the money out of the property wise. So I'm just going to start going down. I'll go on the question and answer. So if people put their questions in the question and answer box, that'd be great. So just starting at the first one here, more real estate related question wise, from Cameron. I remember in the last couple of years, there were a number of pre-construction buildings that fell through 2 to 3 years after a deposit was paid, particularly in Vaughan, I think. How do we protect oneself from that? Yeah, great question, Wes. It's working with reputable builders, working with approved sites, and knowing, and really knowing the reputation of the builder. So we do a lot of business with Minto. We're big Minto fans. A lot of my portfolio I bought with Minto Wise. A large builder like that with deep pockets, publicly traded, their REIT, their brand means so much to them. Tridel, the brand, means so much to them. They're never going to cancel a project, and they're going to go to market with approvals in hand wise. So what approvals mean is that when they sold the project, they know the building is approved. A lot of those cancellations that actually happened, the buildings weren't fully approved yet by the cities wise, and the approval process, through government changes, started taking longer, and the financial feasibility of those projects changed, and the builder wouldn't go through with them, and that's where the projects got canceled. So it's really relying on your realtor, educating yourself on the reliability of the builder wise, and knowing that the building is going to be built. So that's the answer to that question. And Ju, how about from your primary residence? So when we go back to my portfolio wise, a lot of this actually came my leverage wise. I used my primary residence. So we had the Carnaby condo, which allowed me to purchase 2 more condos wise. But I also have my primary residence as well, which I tapped into the line of credit there to purchase more properties. So yes, you can use your primary residence, and you can also write off that interest income on your tax return if you're using a line of credit from your primary residence to purchase pre-construction condos. So yes, you can use your primary residence to grow your real estate portfolio. And again, on the pre-construction wise, you're not worried about the mortgage up front. You're looking at that down the road where the property has gone up in value wise. So next question, Alex Amit. They're talking about what's been happening over the past decade, but after a few cycles, most lenders won't talk to me anymore as total debt ratio is unpalatable. How do I break past this ceiling? So I reach out to Amit. Amit, you have lots of different options for people that are maxed out, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah.
What people don't know is that Canadian banking is broken down into 3 levels. You have your tier A, which everybody's familiar with. Those are your branch banks, TD, Royal, Scotia, etc. Then you have banks that only do mortgages that have no front-facing business, and there's another 15, 20 of them. And then there's credit unions, and it's these credit unions that help us plug the gap because there's about 7 or 8 of them. Their policies are nothing like TD Bank or BMO or CIBC. They simply look at it on a common sense basis. So that's where there's been some questions on the chat about debt limits and ratios, and every bank is different. It's like a car. Every car goes to A to Z. They all just do it differently.
Yeah, and that's where, and that's why we if you just go into your bank, it's not going to work. It's all about how you structure the portfolio and who you're working with on those lending portfolios wise. And this flows into pre-construction. This is what, if you're looking to buy something today or secure something with a deposit today and then buy in the future wise, you can structure your portfolio wise to realign it to, okay, I have a property closing in 2023. Okay, what do I need to do by 2023 to make sure this all works wise? So you can have a more fluid portfolio and rapidly grow your portfolio wise. To buy 14 resale condos in 1 year, you're not going to be able to do that. That's going to be too difficult wise. So it's how to structure it to allow yourself to grow your portfolio over time. Now Denise wise, so Eastern 28 Eastern Avenue, which I was going to talk about later wise, it's going to be more than $1,000 per square foot. It's averaging $1,180 per square foot. We are working on that project. We do think it's a very, very strong project wise. And I think it has a very attractive deposit structure. So I would say that that is a good investment opportunity. You know, when we look outside of the GTA, we really like Oakville wise. So Oakville is the other area that we're promoting, which you can get a parking spot, and you're looking in the 800s per square foot wise. So in the GTA, we like specific areas in Toronto. We like Oakville wise. It's all about how do we get back to the center of the universe, which is downtown Toronto. I don't mean that in an obnoxious way. I mean that's where the high paying salaries are. And Oakville is perfectly situated centrally. If I need to go get downtown, I can just quickly drive or get on the GO train. Or if I need to go west, then I can go to Hamilton or St. Catharines. Or if I need to go to Kitchener-Waterloo, which is another tech hub, I can easily get there in about a 45-minute drive. I have many different contacts that live in Oakville and actually work in KW-wise. So you're really in a central spot. And then for true affordability-wise, and I blasted everyone an email this morning-wise, in Calgary, we see tremendous opportunity in Calgary-wise, where you have the ability to purchase with only 5% down. And then the builder Minto will give you rental guarantees for the next 3 years as well, at a cash flow positive rate. And your ROI is at 10% per year before I factor in any appreciation wise. And I'm really bullish on the Calgary market because it's in a downturn cycle right now, and it's truly a boom and bust city. And I'd be happy to speak to anyone more about the Calgary opportunities wise, but you can get in there for the low 300s with only 5% down until the building registers. And then it's rented for 3 years at a cash flow positive rate wise and fully property managed by a grade A Ontario based builder wise. So for true affordability, and there's no, guys, in Calgary, there's no land transfer tax. There is no development charges. So your cost of entry is very low. So Toronto, Oakville, okay, value spots in Toronto. So that's 28 Eastern Avenue, Oakville, which is district condos, which is central in regards to going to downtown or going out to KW or Hamilton wise, or the pure value play with the highest upside, Calgary wise. Okay. So going back to Anju, condo buying right now will not cover rent. How does it work in that case? Okay. So this is why pre-construction wise, if I were to buy something now and use current rents, no, it absolutely won't cover wise. So that's why we look at, I want to secure properties, lock in my price today, knowing that rents are going to be higher in the future wise. And this year is a blip in the system. Rents will be higher in the future wise, so that those future rents will cover my costs today. So we're always looking at what are our future rents wise. If I buy something resale today, absolutely not I won't even come close to covering my costs. I want to get what my future rents are. So typically these properties, for example, if I go to 28 Eastern, that building's not going to be done till 2025. That's 5 years of appreciation and rental growth when I'll be looking at, okay, what's my rent going to be in 5 years, and will that cover my costs? And what we know, interest rates will still be low in 5 years. Will they be 2.3 in a 5-year fix? Probably not, but they're still going to be relatively low. Or you just go, again, back to the Calgary example, I can get you cash flow positive now. So that's where we're looking at our different examples wise. How much exposure is recommended? Like the current situation, there may not be enough tenants or value drops wise. This is a once, I shouldn't say it's a once, but this is a pandemic wise. There is some risk involved, but anything that you buy pre-construction wise does not have rent control. So what I mean by that, anything built before November 2018, it has rent control. So if I rent that out at a lower rate, I may not be able to increase it to market rate. Well, I won't be able to increase the market rates in the future if the tenant stays in the property. But if I buy something that was built after November 2018, and then if I'm buying something pre-construction wise, I have full control over market rent. So if there is a year that my unit's empty that I have to take a lower rent, the following year, when the rental market is stronger, I'll be able to increase it to that market rent. So for example, some properties in my portfolio wise, I'm going to be getting less rent when the tenants leave this year. I'll just lower my rent it out for a lower amount. And then next year, I'll increase my rent significantly wise. I have that ability with newer properties. What is a good website to get pre-construction properties wise? Remaxwealth.com. Kyle, what do you think about that one?
I think it's the best one out there.
Actually, our website wouldn't be the best. We provide lots of information in regards to searching for all pre-construction opportunities. It actually wouldn't be our website. We don't have every single pre-construction project out there wise. Buzz Homes, excellent website for you to look at different pre-construction opportunities wise. We just provide in-depth analysis for what we think are great opportunities coming up for specific projects wise. But if you want to look at all the various ones and then come back to us and get our thoughts, Buzz Homes is an excellent website, Nick. Real estate leverage is a great concept. Is financing available? Be careful about one's ability to refinance a large portfolio. Times are changing, unfortunately. Amit, you would agree with that. That's actually a very good point, right? Times always change. And this is where you're always looking at a fluid portfolio and how different things are moved from A to B. If you're buying pre-construction wise, and that's where you're looking at what's on the horizon and what different closings are and everything like that, you have the better ability to control a portfolio that's spread over a number of years versus something that if you're buying a bunch of properties that are closing in the same year. Anything you want to add to that, Emmett?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when we're structuring mortgages, either you're doing a resale, which is closing 30, 60, 90 days, or you're in the pre-construction game, which is where the highest returns are. You have a few years generally. What you said about times changing, the thing about this industry that's always surprised me is every couple of years there's some major change from CMHC or the finance minister or the banks. There was a time, which we all have probably forgotten about, when you could do 40-year mortgages. They don't exist anymore. There was a time you could refinance up to 90%. That doesn't exist. There was a time you could do mortgage approvals up to 5 years out. So every time there's a change in the stress test, or whether it be COVID or whether it be the '08 crash from the US and Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, things keep changing. And so the thing that I like about pre-construction, to answer your question, on general, the banks like to see a 2-year average of people's financial position. So if you're buying a pre-construction that's out in 2023 or 2024, as an example, if we have the discussion now, which is what you and I do with our clients right up front, is we can plan the financial layout of their taxes and income and how they have to get ready for those closings. Because getting a mortgage for a property in 2023 or 2024, you don't need anything technically now, but when the time comes, you're ready to close with whichever lender makes sense for you. So I think pre-planning is important when it comes to pre-construction.
Yeah, and on top of that, if you have existing stuff in your portfolio wise, and we're looking at 2023, we call that reallocating sometimes, where we do need to sell sometimes. But if you have a long stretch of when you're looking wise and understanding, you can still pick the best moments to realign your portfolio. Now have the question, Leo. Yeah, we will share all of this. I would say, Leo, send me an email directly wise, and we can have more of a conversation, and I can show you more and more in-depth spreadsheets and models wise on how I look at. Well, actually, this, Leo, great. We have a equity calculator. Kyle, will that be able to be emailed out to everyone when we?
Yeah, we'll include it.
Yeah. So we have an equity calculator, Leo. You can play with that a little bit wise. That's a brand new thing that Kyle developed on our website wise. We haven't marketed it or anything. So you guys will be the first ones that'll be emailed out the equity calculator, as well as we can show you our spreadsheets in the back end as well, and how we look at taking equity out of property wise and then growing your portfolio. Anonymous attendee. I don't like answering anonymous questions, but it's a good question, so I'm going to answer it. Can you use investment strategy for resale units? 100%. Yeah, I don't have an issue with resale. We have a very strong resale arm as well. The only issue with resale right now is the rental market is terrible. That's it. So you just have to factor in that you're going to be getting a lower rent currently right now, and but if you have a lot of equity in another property, your numbers still may work out. But just the rental market is terrible right now. And that is only short-term wise, because again, borders are closed. Once borders open back up, which in a year, realistically, things will just go back to what they were before. If I already have a line of credit on the properties without refinancing, should I use a line or should I go through the refinancing? What is the pro and con of each case? So if you already have the line of credit, I would say reach out to A, first of all, to see what makes the most sense. It always talks about what paying the right interest rate wise. The answer is you can use your line of credit to get started right away wise. And it just depends on when the mortgages are going to be coming for renewal. And when they're coming for renewal wise, you'll want to then do a refinance to lump that line of credit instead of using a line of credit, then you do a refinance right now. So the answer is probably you just want to leave it as a line of credit, but depending on where you are in your cycle wise and the interest rate, it may make sense to refinance. That makes sense, Amit?
Absolutely agree. Completely.
So it just depends on your situation, but yeah, I would use let's say for example, you're like Alex, I like what I hear. I give me some advice on what I should be investing wise. You can use your line of credit to get started. And as well, these pre-construction, when we focus on pre-construction wise, the deposit structures are spread out. So you don't need all the money today. It's 30 days, 90 days, 180 days, typically in 5% increments, or in Calgary where you can just do it with 5% down. So you don't need to have it all figured out today. You have some time to figure that out in regards to where those, let's say, second or third deposits are coming from. Peter, how are you able to get the total debt service numbers to work? The more properties you get, it seems it is hard to carry more and more mortgages just on the rental income and on a modest salary. Amit, I'll let you jump in on that one.
So again, going back to the analogy that every bank is a car, they all go different from A to Z. So to answer the question directly, some banks, after the stress test was announced in 2017, they created a limit of 5 properties max per person across all banks. Some banks didn't follow that. Some allow 8, some allow 10, some allow 12, some allow unlimited. In terms of the loan amount, again, comes down to the different banking policies. Again, we're talking about big banks that everyone's heard of. I always say that your mortgage limit is approximately 5 times your income, sometimes 5.5 or 6, depending on your income. So let's do an easy example. Let's say you make $100,000 and your mortgage limit is 500 grand. That 500 grand limit is not aggregate. It's 500,000 per property. So for someone who makes a decent income or modest income, it's not about having a large mortgage. It's about having a mortgage on each property and going to the right lender that's going to allow the rental income or to give you the offset you need to build that portfolio. So, we have countless clients who have, incomes of 100, 150K and they have properties that total 3-4 million in mortgages, but they're split as 500, 500, 500, 500. So the loan limits are not aggregate, they're per property on average.
And I'll also add as well, and Amit just did one for me, and I have a call with them later today. We had someone reach out, watched our videos wise, and had an income between $60,000 to $70,000 and had 2 investment properties. And he's like, no, I went to banks. They won't refinance. They won't do a mortgage wise. And Emmett was able to refinance the properties. He had significant equity in these properties wise. And now we're able to expand his portfolio. So it's really in who you talk to and how you structure it. And as Emmett said, it's like a car. Every car runs differently. it's every individualized, but there are ways to do it.
I think the part, Alex, that people don't realize is when you walk off the street to RBC and you're speaking with either a mortgage specialist or someone at the branch, they can only provide you context on their policies. It's the same in real estate. If you had to buy a property, you'd have to walk into every builder to understand everyone's approach. And that's why you use someone like Alex, because he's the jumpstart point for where you go. So same thing happens in mortgages. When I speak to a client for the first time, I have no idea which bank I'm going to send them to. I'm simply trying to figure out what is the best way to get the money out of the property. And based on the information we receive, the answer is TD, Scotia, CIBC, Royal, or National, or a B lender, or a credit union. When I'm doing an application, me deciding which bank to go to is the last button that I have to click on our system. We don't go individually to the branch or to the banks. Like, to do what a broker does, and it doesn't have to just be me, but to do what a broker does, you'd have to go to 10 different banks and have 10 different meetings, whereas we accomplish that in one sitting. And if I can't find the solution, I'm usually pretty sure that the solution doesn't exist. So that's the experience that we're able to bring for it.
Great answer. So Youssef, reach out to Amit. Vicky, how many properties have you closed? How many are under construction wise? 1, 2, 3, 4 closed. 4 condos closed. So 4 pre-constructions closed. Then I also have my triplex, my apartment building, and then 10 that are under construction that are tiered again. Closings from 2021 to 2026, all scheduled at different times. Roland, is there any risk whatsoever to your existing property or potential new properties if you refinance and invest? No risk, really. Just the only risk is being able to, your cash flow limits on the cash from the rent covers your costs. That's the key thing. And when you start going into the negative territory, that's when you expose yourself to risk. So your risk is if you're going into negative cash flow territories. That's your only risk wise on that. This is Amit. This is a good one. Can a retired individual on defined pension get approved for a mortgage?
100%.
There we go.
So there's 2 options. The answer is actually quite simple. Either it's 5 times your annual pension or annuity that you're getting. So, the average pensioner gets 25 to 40K. So that's about a 200K limit. If that's not enough, there's a new thing in the market for anybody over 55. You can get what we call a reverse mortgage. The bank will give you as much money as you want. You don't actually have to pay them a monthly payment. They actually either pay you a monthly payment or you can take the lump sum up front. I can get into that in detail in another conversation, but reverse mortgages have skyrocketed in the last few years because the global population is aging. And so reverse mortgages is one way that anyone over 55 can pretty much get as much money as they want out of their properties.
You know what, I realized I missed it, and I missed a question, and maybe that was actually the question from Youssef wise in regards to when will the property stop going up in value wise. There is a relationship between interest rates and property values, but if property values could be, the growth could be tempered by significant increases in interest rates, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. My background's in economics. I've talked to economics professionals. Because of COVID-19 and the economic stimulus packages that have been introduced and the debt levels that the governments have taken on wise, they're not increasing interest rates. To increase interest rates, you have to have a significant increase in inflation wise, and we're not going to be seeing that either. Plus, we're not a domestic area. Interest rates would also have more impact outside of major centers wise. There is a lot of international money at play that flows into this. Again, very big difference between international money and the foreign buyer. international money, which will flock into Canada-wise and continue to flock into Canada-wise due to us being safe and boring. And that has a play in regards to our values as well. Okay, so continuing on. Roland, your Helco question about 50%, I'm going to say reach out to Amit directly wise on that. That's very specific wise with co-ownership. Is it very hard to refinance? No, but you may not get your loan to value may be lower than what you would have gotten pre-March 1st. You maybe you'll get a 75% loan to value versus an 80% loan to value. And as Amit said, it's all about, I guess it depends on your profession wise and your future income opportunities, but also your lenders that he works with. Every lender is different in what they're looking at. Is that a good answer, Amit?
Absolutely correct.
In pre-construction, do you plan to flip? Isn't it hard to rent when so many condos in the market at one time? No, I never flip. We have a whole video on why we don't flip. You can, if you want to do that, but we caution against it wise. But if I have a new condo wise and it's sitting empty, then I'm just going to lower the rent to get it rented out. And I know that in 1 year's time, the rent will be higher. And because it's not rent controlled, I can increase the rent in 1 year's time to market rates. So it's all about just being competitive on your rental rates. And we do 100 plus leases per year. We are leasing experts. If you have any leasing specific questions, you can reach out to Kyle Wise and he can assist you with those. But it's all about getting the right number, getting it rented out, and then increasing the rent in the following year when rental rates have stabilized. How difficult is it to finance a property with a holding company? Love that question. So all my condos are in holding companies. I don't own them personally wise. So it's a myth, an urban legend that it's difficult to finance a property in a holding company. Absolutely you can. You just need to be working with the person who knows how to do it. It's not hard at all. And it can help you with that. Great question. Love that you asked that question. If you have an existing mortgage with a bank, or do I need to continue with the same bank upon refinance, or can I opt for another option? If so, how does that work? You can opt for another option, 100%. Also, if you're doing a line of credit, there are banks, like, so for example, who was I talking to bank-wise? But let's say you have a BMO mortgage, CIBC, not all the banks, but CIBC would put a home equity line of credit behind, BMO. BMO would put a home equity line of credit behind a CIBC mortgage, for example, wise. So you can actually do home equity line of credits from different institutions wise. Also, if you're refinancing, you don't need to keep with the same bank. You can go to different banks. Reach out to Amit about that. He can walk you through on that. Amit, can you elaborate a little on the credit union option? With mortgage approvals, they don't look at rental income based on full dollar value of the rental income based on my understanding. Are you saying credit unions would use the full rental income for ratio purposes?
Short answer, yes. The credit unions are not bound by B20, which is the name of the stress test that came out in 2017. They get to do whatever they want. So credit union policies are based on the risk level of their investors / people who give them money. So credit unions are a great option to look at alternatives if you're not able to qualify at the normal banks.
Okay, so hey guys, okay, we did that one. Hey guys, Alex Kyle with High Price across GTA. What areas within the GTA where you see future growth wise? I know you mentioned Oakville, and I remember you are quite passionate with the Galleria project. Any other areas? I'm telling you, 28 Eastern, which is launching wise, is going to be great, and that's coming out next week wise. We're very bullish on that area. So East Downtown Core, really like that area wise. So 28 Eastern Avenue would be a value-based project in the Toronto core area wise. Galleria we liked, which is just offset out of the core, still in Toronto. Then if we're going out GTA, Oakville. We see incredible value for Oakville. And Oakville, #1 place for new immigrants in Canada, 2019. And we're going to see an influx coming in after 2019. And when everyone's doing the research, they're going to see, oh, Oakville, I want to live in Oakville. That's got great, great care, great doctors, great schools. And I got Toronto down the road. So Oakville. And then Calgary, love Calgary wise. Yeah, and there's a little more risk in Calgary, but we see upside in Calgary. Do you need pre-approval for new condos, especially the ones you're talking about in Toronto, Calgary, and Oakville? Amit helps us with our pre-approvals wise. And he'll walk you through the pre-approval process on the pre-construction condos wise, and he has a method for that. So the answer is yes, you do need the pre-approvals, but Amit's able to walk you through that process wise. And he operates differently than the banks do. Do you think the United Building 481 University is a good investment, although very, very expensive? Great location. Is going to take a really, really long time to build. So you will end up making money on it wise. I think there are better value investments out there. That would be a crown jewel in your portfolio wise, a main avenue in a core property wise. So it depends. Is it a good crown jewel? Yeah, I think it's gonna be a great crown jewel. It just depends on if you're looking at where are my value opportunities for growth wise, or if I want a crown jewel in my portfolio.
It's the boardwalk.
It's a boardwalk. Yeah, great talk. My branch banker told me that due to a rule change in 2020, I can't draw my home. Look, great question. No. My branch banker told me due to a rule change in March 20, I can't draw my home line of equity to fund the deposit on a rental property. Is that true? Yeah, I would say yes and no. It just depends on Brad. It just depends on the bank you're going to. I could use my home equity line of credit to go buy another property wise off of my house wise. I just may have to get a different bank to do the mortgage on the new property wise. So that's where Amit knows who to move, which person you move to.
That's where we do a double application where, for instance, you have one refinance being done at Bank A and you have the rental being done at Bank B. So that's not something someone sitting in a branch can do. They can't coordinate with the branch across the street to help. So that's as investors, that's where the support comes in, that we can take your one application and have 4 different banks working on 4 different properties at the same time.
Vicky, absolutely, a resale condo will be less than a pre-construction condo today. It's just that your rent will be lower. So it just depends on if you want to take a lower rent right now, or if you don't want to deal with the rental market right now. Lynn, talk to Amit. He can walk through the mortgages with you in regards to the pre-construction condo you're looking at closing. So you definitely want to reach out to Amit. How easy it is to get a mortgage pre-approval if you're buying 5 to 10 units of condos, or to get the actual mortgage upon closing? So Roland, it's all about structuring the closings of those future condos and doing a fluid portfolio. Again, I still have 10 closings coming up, and I'm always looking at my portfolio wise, what steps I'm gonna have to make in the future to make sure I'm set up for those closings wise. So the answer is it's 100% doable with planning. Is a spreadsheet available where we can see mortgage pay down? Absolutely. Anand, email me and I can send you my spreadsheet. Can we use line of credit for down payment? Yes, you can. When a bank puts a charge on the mortgage for more than the mortgage, will this affect the ability to secure a line of credit? Answer that one, Amit. You see that?
Sorry, I missed that. It blocked out.
Yeah, Denise at 1203. When a bank puts a charge on the property for more than the mortgage, will this affect the ability to secure a line of credit?
So the reason banks put a charge more than the property is so that you have to go to that bank to get the refinance. So the answer is no, it doesn't stop you from getting the line of credit. What the bank has done is they've done the preliminary legal work that you would have required in the future for the line of credit. So then this is where we look at the options and say, okay, you know, BMO gave you a loan for 500, the property was only worth 400, and they registered for 700. So we either break it and go somewhere else, or we have to work specifically with that bank to see if it works. It's kind of a maneuver the banks use to try and get clients to stay with them because they've taken a charge more than the mortgage. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that definitely helps out. Audrey Wong, what are the biggest risks or drawbacks that we should be aware of when considering the strategy? The only risk is interest rates. And yeah, I would say interest rate growth, you know, potentially if values go down wise, you know, those could be risks. But if you're in the game for the long term, and that's why, again, I'm still sharing my screen. If you look at this is the long-term risk is nothing. The long-term risk is low. Interest rates would be the only risk or devaluation of properties wise. But if you're buying in the right locations, you don't really have to worry about that. And time will fix any devaluations. And that's where I've Amit for the mortgage qualification process wise. So I would say the risks are low overall. Can you recommend lenders that would offer a second position, Helco at competitive rates? Amit, I'll let you jump in. I know BMO does. Does TD still?
So every bank has a certain list of banks they'll go behind. So everyone is different. So Scotia, for instance, will go behind. Sometimes TD won't go behind Royal. They all have a pyramid of who they'll do and who they won't. So we have to see where the portfolio is at and what options exist. But like you were mentioning earlier, sometimes some banks go behind BMO, others don't. So it's really the answer is yes, it can be done. We just have to figure out where it can go.
So Peter, the answer is go to Amit. But yeah, depending on where your first mortgage is, you should be fine. In cash flow, do you include principal and interest or just interest only? A cash flow, I consider, yeah, great question, because if you get my spreadsheet wise, you'll see I factor in interest and principal in my cash flow. So I look at my cash flow. Cash flow is cash. That's cash. That's my cash flow. So cash flow, I'm looking at what's my cash coming in. I do also look at my equity pay down component wise when I'm factoring my return on investment. But cash flow is the actual cash coming in, but there is your buffer of your equity pay down as well. Can you use RRSPs to invest in new properties? No. If you plan to refinance, does changing jobs make that more difficult?
The answer is no. It depends if your job has probation or not, and it also depends if you're in the same industry or not. So again, it's case by case. We'd have to look at if you're leaving one school and joining another, or you're leaving one tech company and joining another, there shouldn't be a problem. But if you're leaving your job as a teacher and becoming an IT consultant, then that's going to be a different answer.
Okay. I still have 2 more condo closings for 2021, 2022, or 2022. Can I still get more information on Calgary condo that you advise, annex, which is very attractive? I just worry about rental income in Calgary. Vicky, I will tell you that with the rental guarantees for 3 years, which they increased from 2 years, originally February wise, these are cash flow positive, 100%. I did the math on all the units. And the rental income in Calgary has actually been strong wise. So you really have a 3-year buffer. And realistically, when your rental guarantee is done, which will be in 2024, potentially 2025, depending on when you get the property, you'll be safe. So yeah, I will send you more information. Just send me a quick little email wise, and I can reply back to you on that. I do not have pricing and floor plans yet for 28 Eastern. We just been sent some sample floor plans wise. It's not your standard riser building wise. So what I mean a riser building, I may only have 6 to 8 layouts. There are 60 plus floor plans in the building. Average pricing is going to be $11.80 per square foot. So which that means is there going to be units below $11.80 per square foot, and there'll be some units above $11.80 per square foot. That's what you're looking at for the property wise. If you registered for this webinar, you're going to be getting the full investment package on 28 Eastern when we get the full details on that, and we're going to be having a video on the project very soon. And you, Oakville, Kitchener, Vaughan for condo investment, Oakville. You get a parking spot in your purchase price, and you can still buy sub 900 per square foot, and it's centrally located wise. And our final question, we made it through. What is the mortgage rate for credit union at present? Mostly A lenders are 2.45. Amit, I'll let you jump in that, maybe give some rough numbers on there.
So in regards to rates?
Yeah, just asking about credit union wise.
So rates generally hover around 2.5% for like the A side. And on the credit union, the difference is about 1%. So they're usually about 3.5%. From a mortgage perspective, because of amortization, it barely makes a difference of about $50 for every 100 grand. So if the average condo is 400,000, let's say your mortgage payment was 1,600 with RBC, it might be 1,800 with a credit union. So it's not, it sounds like a lot, like I don't want to pay 3.5 instead of 2.5, but at the end of the day, the cash flow difference is so minute that it shouldn't stop your investment decision.
Great. Okay. Do you have? Oh, I'm getting chat messages here as well. So here, let me just send a quick little.
Now, while you're doing that, we got one more question.
Yep.
Where they'd like to invest, but they're scared of getting bad tenants. Do we have a leasing company, and do they scan tenants? So,
yeah, you want to jump in that Kyle?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. So we definitely do leasing. We did over 150 last year, so we're really experts in leasing out properties. Big part of that is scanning the potential tenants. So we're going to do due diligence on them. We're going to check their credit reports. We're going to check all of their online presence, social media presence. We're going to make sure that they have employment and call those people to make sure that they are employed and currently employed. So if you do all of these checks, then the risk of getting a bad tenant is quite low, but obviously always still a risk. If you wanted to have the management of your property totally off your shoulders, then we also have a property management company as well that you can take advantage of, so that literally all you do is have the rent checks cashed on your behalf every month.
Yeah, and I will say, as long as the proper screening is done, you're not going to get a bad tenant. It's really easy to screen against a bad tenant. Credit check, employment letter, employment validation, reference check. You're going to be covered from the bad tenant wise. We've been doing this for 12 years now. You're not going to get a bad. You're not going to have a bad tenant.
That's why we like condos.
Go ahead.
That's why we like condos as well versus, say, a multi-residential building, or, you know, in different areas as well, you can run into that issue. But downtown Toronto, you're looking for people that are professionals that have really good jobs, so the risk is much lower.
Okay, thanks everyone. Now, if you're on this call, then you have my contact details. So I'm getting a few more questions here on the chat wise about specific investment projects. Send me an email or send Kyle an email. We're happy to answer your questions on those wise. I've personally invested in Calgary wise. Oakville we see as the value investment play for the GTA. And then downtown Toronto, always your blue chip location wise. The East downtown core, 28 Eastern Avenue. We see incredible upside on that site. We can get into details on those. So please send me an email. I'll actually put it in. Oh, that was Amit putting his stuff there. Here's my email. Chat. Here's Kyle's email. My phone number. Kyle, can you put your phone number off the top of my head? What?
We'll include all of these details in the email that we send out to everyone following this.
Yeah. So thank you so much. You know, we've been on here for an hour and a half now. Had a great retention rate, and everyone really thank you for taking the time for sitting with us. Amit, thank you so much. I know it's a busy time for you, so for taking this time. We'll be doing this again next week at 11 a.m. And we'll have even more details and more different strategies to talk about. And what else should I add? This has fully been recorded, so you're going to get all this information as well. maybe today, maybe tomorrow. It just depends on when it gets sent out. Anything else, Cal?
I think that's it. Thanks everyone for joining.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks so
Thank
much,
you,
guys.
Alex.
Talk to
Thanks,
everyone later.
everyone.
Okay,
Bye.
thanks. Bye-bye.